wonder, do these gentlemen partake?
I don't know.
Only one way to find out.
We'll soon find out. Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta force it in their hands.
Hey.
What up? Can
Hello.
you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound good, Joey.
Oh.
Great. Nice to meet everybody.
Yeah,
I'm
welcome
Joey.
to the pod.
Yeah, welcome to the pod. Nice to meet you, Joey.
I'm Jake.
Cody
Hi,
here.
Jake. Hi, Cody.
Anthony.
Anthony, nice to meet you. I like your cat earmuffs.
Thanks.
Headphones, I should say.
Yeah, I got them because originally I was using my roommate. She uses them for gaming, and I started using them so much that the first pair ended up breaking. And I was like, well, I not only have to replace hers, but I've fallen in love with them. So
They're your signature now.
Yeah, it gets lots of compliments from guests.
it's my bread and butter.
Now you have to keep them forever.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess when Sean gets on, we could kick this bad boy
Rock
off.
and roll.
Are any of you guys in Los Angeles by any chance?
Yeah, I am.
Have you ever stuck your podcast stickers on a light post near like Culver City-ish, like near the Ralphs?
That's where I live. It's Culver City.
Yeah, okay. So I've definitely seen your stickers around. I don't live in LA anymore.
Nice.
I remember I like have a picture on my phone of like, oh, Comics and Chronic. That's fucking hilarious. I wonder what it's all about. And I tried to find it before I came on, but I couldn't. But I remember taking it. It was like in the Ralph's, you know, where Ralph's is, there was like a coffee bean and tea leaf there across from like one of the buildings in the Starbucks. So now I know who the culprit is.
I live right across the street from that Ralph, so that's why.
Okay. So we used to I lived on Midvale for a long time and then also on Kelton.
Nice. Where do you live now?
Now I live in Maine. So
Oh, shit. Okay.
very
Nice.
different. But I'm so glad that I could finally connect those threads after all these years.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll send you some stickers if you want any. We have a bunch.
Yeah, listen,
Yeah.
I'll fucking throw them all over town.
We don't have any. Yeah, we don't have any in light posts in Maine that we're aware of. So
That's true.
you can help spread the
Yeah.
word.
Game up in Maine.
We don't have any yet.
Yeah.
How you doing, Sean?
Yeah, Sean, welcome.
Welcome.
How's it going, everybody?
Pretty good. Sean, you got a Weekend at Bernie's vibe going on there.
Yeah.
Always.
Also, that's a very sick studio setup you got there.
Thank you. Yeah, over here, this is where the magic happens. And then over here is also where the magic happens because behind here is my bed.
Hey. That's what we like to hear.
So, fellas, are we all cool to drive?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
No, but that's okay.
We're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Do you guys, by any chance, partake in marijuana?
I did a little bit over the past weekend. I was up in Woodstock with a buddy of mine who's usually holding.
Nice.
Nice. I actually went there
Nice.
recently for a baby moon, like right
Yeah,
before my
nice.
wife gave birth. And what's it? The Golden Notebook?
Yeah.
Really cool spot over there.
Yeah. We stopped by there. I saw a couple of books that were done by some friends of mine. I was like, oh, cool. Snap a pic of those.
Hell yeah.
And then shoot those off. And then, it's also the best air conditioning in all of Woodstock because it is fucking hot. And there's not a lot of AC down there. And you think, you're going to go into an ice cream shop for like a cool down. No, it's hotter in there somehow.
Are you based out of Maine as well?
No, I'm born and raised in Brooklyn.
Nice.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I'm still here now.
Nice. I'm in the Bronx.
But Maine sounds great.
Maine is great.
How did you guys link up, connect, to meet with each other?
Yeah. How did you guys meet?
Like all couples meet on the internet.
Nice.
Nice.
He swiped. We got lucky.
There's a secret comics creator. No, there's not. I was gonna try to make a bit.
That's actually
but
kind of cool for like writers and artists to like
it would be
look at
cool.
each
I
other's
feel like
work and match if they want to work together.
that would be great. I feel like it's a very limited audience.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Probably couldn't make any money.
for like 28 people, it would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a similar vibe though, because comic creators when you find that person you can really work with, it's like starting a relationship. It's that level of trust. There's some traveling together. You have to sit next to each other for a long time, talk about nothing.
A lot of bickering.
There's a lot of bickering as well.
Nice.
There's anniversaries.
Just kidding. I don't bicker with my wife, but I do bicker with Sean.
But we've been together longer.
That's also true.
Well, before we go too far, I want to introduce you guys to our audience. We got Joey Esposito, Sean Von Gorman here. We're talking about The Pedestrian. Welcome to Comics and Chronic, guys.
Thank you so much. I've been really excited to come on the show. As we were discussing, I've unknowingly been a fan for a long time. Based on your stickers on Los Angeles light posts. So.
I've been Manchurian candidating my fans out.
Yeah. It worked, my friend. It worked.
She had the stickers, then you got the podcast. Based on the sticker.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on, guys. Sean, little fact, your shirt is right up Cody's alley.
Ooh,
He is a huge Hawaiian shirt fan.
Ooh.
Normally,
Normally he has one on. I'm surprised you don't have one on, Cody.
yeah, if I'm being honest, I wore this specifically because it's a good cop, rad cop shirt. They're a comedy musical group from Atlanta. They rule.
Nice.
But I was trying to make some stand-up comedy related content, talking about shows and stuff like that, and just got stoned and hated everything I was making. So I just, yeah.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
So I didn't make a video, and I'm not wearing a Hawaiian shirt. It's the worst day of the summer.
Not the Cody I know.
Man, I can't wait for summer to be over.
Oh, not me, man. I'm a summer boy.
I love summer.
Ooh.
Yeah, me and Jake are summer dogs.
Yeah.
I hate summer so much. I named the shitty town in The Pedestrian Summer City because I despise it so much.
Oh, is that why?
That's so funny.
It's just so like I hate bugs. I like winter because all the bugs die. But also, if you can, I don't know if this is video or not, or if we can just see each other. But if I'm sweating profusely, it's because I turned off all the air conditioning for sound quality purposes. But also, we're like 10 minutes in, and I'm already just like dead. So I'm sorry for my appearance.
Yeah, my recording room doesn't have an AC. I'm gonna be a sweaty boy before it's all over as well.
As long as I'm not alone, I'm fine with that.
I mean, if you want to try to turn it on and we can see, I bet it's no big deal. You don't have to suffer for Comics and
I have
Crime.
the AC on right now in my apartment. So.
I'll suffer for my art. That's okay.
I'll suffer a little bit from my art, but not too much.
I've suffered enough. I'm turning mine on. Fuck this.
Hell yeah, there we go.
There you go.
We're the AC boys.
The AC boy.
AC boys.
Terrible.
How's it sound? Is that really bad?
I
No, can't even hear it.
No.
Can't hear it?
Really?
Well,
You turned it on just now? Well, fuck this. Okay, I'll be right back.
I've been turning mine off for all the podcasts too at the height of summer,
Nah.
and I could have just had it on this whole time.
Literally, I can't hear it at all. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've just been suffering for no reason.
Yeah, it's one thing to suffer for your art. It's quite another to suffer for no reason.
Yeah.
Unacceptable.
Hey, can you hear that?
Not at all.
Oh my God. What? Okay, well.
All right, we should take a 2-minute break so Joey can just stand in front of it for a few minutes.
And myself, yeah. Well, we've learned some important information this evening, and I'm excited to use this moving forward.
Maybe summer's not so bad now.
Yeah.
So you said you guys met off the internet. When was that, and like how was that? Like
This was around 2011, I'd say 2012, the golden age of Twitter, the golden age of comics happening because you have a Twitter account.
Yeah.
So Joey had put out a call for artists. I had answered it. I think that's back when he was working at IGN at the time.
oh no,
And I was putting together a book, and I was looking for. I saw he had worked for IGN, and I figured maybe as long as we're working together, maybe he'd be up for maybe putting together an article for the book I was working on. That was not the case. because he presented, he had journalistic integrity back when that was a thing, and didn't mix his chocolate and his peanut butter. And I was a pushy little fucker, and I asked a couple times, and he was like, "No, I'm not going to do this. If we'd rather not do the book, we could see if we can make some room." And I was like, "No," and I felt like an asshole. And I said, I'll do the book. And that book eventually became the indie darling Pawn Shop.
Nice.
Okay, nice.
I actually found Sean's original email to me not too long ago during that time. And because he's told the story before about like this back and forth about maybe trying to get some coverage on the website I was working for. And I was just like, I don't remember that happening, but then he was right. I looked back at our email and I was like, oh, he was definitely trying to like game the system a little bit. And I'm proud of myself for upholding my ethics. It's
Nice.
What do you have if not your ethics? So,
but also against Sean Von Gorman at the height of his brashness.
I feel like that's how we know it was going to work out, because we were both kind of like at the height of our mid-20s or whatever, just completely full of ourselves bullshit. So, and the fact that we did a book together and survived and doing another one that's so much better, I feel like that speaks a lot to our collaborative partnership and our friendship. And yeah, so glad it worked out.
So tell us a little bit about The Pedestrian. Like, how did it come about? Is this a project you guys have like had for a while, or is it just something like was it a recent thing you came up with? Is it something you've been trying to do for,
It's been in the cooker for a while. I had kind of come up with an idea for this guy who was a superhero, inspired by the little blinking man in the Don't Walk sign. So I had like a name, I had a costume design, I had a general outline of thinking it'd be really funny to have, what if the Flash, wasn't able to run fast, but could just run really well. And I thought that was really funny, but I didn't have much more than that. So I remembered working with Joey and how great Joey is with writing rich characters to help populate this world and sort of expand on this idea. Where in Pawn Shop, for those of you who haven't read it, we're not judging. Most people haven't. It's a day in the life of New York from 4 different perspectives. So each chapter is the perspective of another person living in the city, and sort of how we play with timelines and how stories overlap. How you work living in a big city, you sometimes a small interaction with someone has a big impact on someone else's life that maybe you're not aware of at the time. We really liked the mechanics of that story. So we thought we could do something on a larger scale, and maybe through a superhero lens, because maybe it might make some money. And then lockdown happened. So we had some time to focus on it, because we figured comic shows aren't a thing anymore. So let's take this time and invest in ourselves and make the best possible thing we could make. And we worked on it in secret for exactly a year. So through the pandemic, a complete vacuum, creatively, no ego, just best idea wins. I think this would be cool. I think this would be cool. This is the best idea, and just keep working on that. We came up with maybe 10 shorts that we were going to present as sort of like a scrolling webtoon series. And by the end of it, we were like, this is pretty good. Let's start showing this to people. And the people we were showing was like Mike Allred and Dean Haspiel, who all agreed to like do covers for us. And we just kept showing, and we realized we had something really strong that we didn't want to just throw away. So then we started the shopping process of showing it to every possible publisher who would take a look at it. And that took another couple of years before we found the right publisher with Magma Comix.
Nice. I do believe this was my first Magma. I don't know if I've read anything else, but what a great introduction to, are like a lot of their books this kind of vibe?
Not really. I mean, they're all pretty different. We're sort of in their phase 2. We're in their second slate of things.
Okay.
They've had 4 books out. They have a couple more announced, but they're looking to try and to only do maybe like 4 to 8 books a year, and just try to make really strong comics. So, they're still a very new company, but they're very selective about what they want to put out, because they just want to make, they're not chasing IP. They're just looking to make really good comics.
Yeah, and I would say, Sean always, when we're talking about this, Sean always mentions how, like, when we were first shopping the Pedestrian, the right publisher hadn't existed yet, and Magma came along, and I feel like they were the perfect fit because they're comprised of industry veterans from IDW primarily, and people who we really like and respect. But I think for us, it was really important that it wasn't just an IP farm, which we see all the time in comics, just publishers putting stuff out so they can turn it into movies or TV or an audio podcast or whatever it is. And right from the jump, Magma was just like, no, we're just like, that stuff is cool, but we're interested in making comics for comics' sake. And that's sort of where our creative ethos lines up. And so that was really appealing. And if you read their other books, they're all great. And they all have that thing where it's just like, I don't know how they could really adapt this if everyone wanted to do it. Like its purest form is comics. And I feel like the Pedestrian is also like that. And that makes me really excited.
Nice.
Yeah, it definitely stands out. Like it definitely feels like the way you just described. Like you can only see this kind of story in a comic. And that's what I loved about it. Like it was so fresh. Like,
thank you.
The quirky is like, I guess the best way to describe it, but like it's like that on the surface. Like once you start reading the story, it's very much like, okay, these people live in this town that they don't like, and extremely relatable. But then you have this weirdo, power walking around. It immediately reminded me of, and this is what I was bringing to it, I guess. When I see a guy in a power walking suit, there's an episode of Malcolm in the Middle, where.
Yes.
Right? Where Bryan Cranston, where Hal just becomes a power walker, and it's just the funniest thing ever just to see him in the suit.
Right.
So like I see this guy, but like he has a different vibe than that. Like you're not like laughing at him. You're just kind of like, what the fuck are you? Like it's a completely different vibe than that. And I like that a lot.
Yeah. Very, for the opening issue, very like a very like weird introduction to like your protagonist, the namesake character. You know what I mean? Like he seems like you can't really grasp him, and I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, that's really exactly kind of what we were going for. So that it makes me really happy to hear that is your reaction. Because it is, if you were living in a small town like that and a guy started walking around in that suit, it wouldn't be like, oh, hell yeah. Like that's funny or that's cool. It'd be like, what is this guy doing? Like that's, huh?
Are you from a small town originally?
I'm from a small city. It was like 40,000 people, which like comparatively to the places I've lived since in New York and LA, it takes leaving to realize how sheltered and small your community really is.
Yeah.
But something that was really important to me in the Pedestrian that directly comes from where I come from is this idea that you're growing up in a town where all the adults around you are telling you like, this place sucks. There's nothing for you here. You need to get out of here as soon as humanly possible, and that's...
Dude, I get that. Trust me.
Right? And it's a weird thing to grow up with because you're also being told like, oh, community is important and you got to like, be proud of where you're from and whatever. And it's like, okay, but at the same time, you're telling me there's nothing for me here and I got to get out to find opportunities or whatever it might be. And it just kind of fucks with your head a little bit. And so I brought a lot of that baggage into the characters that populate Summer City and interact with the Pedestrian.
I love that because as a West Virginian, that's what I connect with.
Yeah.
Fully.
Cool. Good. I'm glad. It's a weird thing for sure.
And so I do say that the Pedestrian doesn't have powers, but if you're someone who just walks everywhere, I'm from New York, everyone walks everywhere. But if you bring that to a small town, everyone maybe walks from their garage to their car and from their car to the Ralph's or the Costco or whatever, and don't actually walk. So if you're bringing that is actually a superpower that you can walk 10, 20 blocks without a problem.
Yeah. I mean, that is super true. It's just such a... Oh, also, the art, Sean, is so good.
Thank you.
It caught me out This is, unfortunately, the first time I was introduced to your work, but caught me from Jump Street with the art. It was stellar.
I got plenty of backlog you can go through now, too. It's more of a treat for you.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Discover along the way, but thank you.
I, as someone who's worked with Sean for over a decade, I think that, even not being objective, I would say that this is his best work for sure. And I'm so happy that it's something that we're doing together. But this book is really Sean leveling up to the nth degree, and just the stuff that's coming beyond issue 1 is fucking bonkers, and I can't wait to send it to you all because it's truly wild. I'm very excited.
When does issue 2 come out?
Issue 2 will be out in September, but since we're all friends here, you may have a PDF coming your way sooner than that.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Sweet.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Exclusive.
So, are there, other than Hal from Malcolm in the Middle, what influences on these characters, like from other medias, have you drawn inspiration from?
I think a big influence is, I think you're the only person who has brought up that Malcolm in the Middle episode,
Yes.
but that definitely had an
Fuck
impact
yeah.
on me. It was like later in the series, and it was just so weird that they kind of took something that kind of existed that I'm sure one of the writers came across
Yeah.
and then kind of elevated it to another level. And man, if we can just talk about Bryan Cranston for a second, to be able to go from Malcolm in the Middle to Breaking Bad and then back and forth of these two extremes of acting, of the two heights, the heights of like dopey TV comedy to Breaking Bad, outstanding.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Love the dude.
And what was the question? Other influences, right? Okay, so definitely a big one is David Lynch, Twin Peaks, very much an influence here. In terms of, you have a quirky small town, but there is something really sinister and terrifying underneath the surface. And we've always loved the juxtaposition of the quirky comedy with the use of extreme violence and how those sort of balance each other out, because you have, comedy, like high comedy with really like upsetting sexual violence and demons flying around and shit. And then we kind of live in the middle here of, we live in these gray areas of extreme good, extreme evil. And these are constructs and ideas that we struggle with, that we think we're one or the other, but it's really, we're very much in between these two things.
Nice.
And I would say for me also in this book, Power Rangers is a huge influence that you can see in sort of this like meta TV show within the comic that exists called Laser Titans. But also things like Stephen King's The Stand, of a bunch of sort of dissolute characters coming together through circumstance, is really appealing.
You are in Maine, so that holds.
I am. I'm obligated. I have to.
He is living in a Stephen King novel. The other shoe is about to drop.
That's true. I don't know. I'm sure you've all seen the Stephen King Rules T-shirt. It's like red, and it's just it's red, and it just says Stephen King Rules in yellow letters. But I saw one at a comic shop here in Maine that was like Dean Koontz is just okay. I thought that was very funny. But we talk about The Pedestrian being sort of our everything book. Like, this is our fuck you book. This is the book we wanted to put everything into that we love. And the Laser Titans thing is a great example. That was a pitch that Sean and I worked on between Pawn Shop and The Pedestrian that no one cared about. It was just kind of like our take on a Power Rangers-esque story. And then we really loved it. Sean did awesome designs for their mechs, which we call War Riders, and their suits and all this stuff. And we're like, fuck it, let's put that in here and see how that works out. And so we have these kid characters, and that's their favorite TV show, just like Power Rangers is my favorite TV show. So it also becomes this thing about how the media that we consume impacts our day-to-day and how we view the world. Like, I feel like growing up reading comics and watching shows like that gave me a really strong sense of right and wrong and sort of like ethical hard line that I won't cross. And there's people out there who don't get that from these sort of things. So that's something that's interesting to me to explore. And I think that's kind of in this book as well.
Nice. Who were this is for both of you guys growing up, who were some of your favorite comic book characters, whether they be heroes or villains?
I think for me and Joey, I think we're both very big fans of Superman.
Nice. Hell yeah.
I think we both struggle with a lot of interpretations of Superman over, probably in this modern era. We can talk about Christopher. We could talk about Christopher Reeve being kind of a great example of the ideal of Superman. It's someone that you believe is going to do the right thing whenever possible, and
Agreed.
he'll make sacrifices. We can talk about the movies of any time he would like save someone, or anytime there was a right combination of acting, writing, directing, tone that just, for me, just kind of gives me like chills, or gives me like a physical thrill of when Christopher Reeve swoops in, like in Superman 2 when he saves that kid from Niagara Falls. Or when he's really upset at the end of Superman 2 and he comes back and he flies outside, floating outside the Daily Planet saying, "Excuse me, General, would you care to step outside?" Where it's like he's still polite, but he's really pissed off, and you're in fucking trouble.
Yeah.
And we really don't see that. We see, the 90s came around and comics changed in a very big way, where people probably skewed more towards things like the Punisher, Cable, Wolverine, Ghost Rider, anti-heroes who kill their enemies. But that's not the point. Superman is not the enemy. If you take all the powers away from Superman, he's just someone who's trying to do the right thing. And that's kind of what we thought would be interesting to do with our character. We were working on it during the pandemic. So a lot of 2020 kind of creeped into the mix of what we were doing, as often does when Joey and I work together. So we're talking about social justice issues. We're talking about, violence in the news of people being beaten by people of authority. We're
talking about student debt. The girl needs to deliver pizza while in med school.
Absolutely. We're talking about isolation. We're talking about communities being dismantled by corporations. And so a lot of these ideas we kind of reincorporated it, because we thought it'd be really cool that if we had, a hero, especially a hero of color, who doesn't use violence to solve problems. So that's why he never breaks the law. He's never going to attack anyone. He's a non-violent entity. He's a non-verbal blank slate. So you can kind of pin your hopes and dreams on this fella. Joey was telling me he was doing a signing up in Maine where he had a couple of the ash cans we had, and a person, checked out the first 6 pages of it, which is the first, pretty much the first 5-6 pages of the book, and said, "I know nothing about him, but I would die for him." which is a strong reaction. People kind of see the character and they go, "Wow, what is this? I need to know what this is." I had a similar poster at New York Comic Con, I think 2 years ago, and there's a woman with a cane walks over and she goes, "Excuse me, is he jaywalking?" And I said, "No, this is the pedestrian. He never breaks the law. He would never jaywalk." And she goes, "Oh, that's really cool, because I jaywalked once and I got hit by a car, and that's why I have this cane." and then she bought a copy. So this is of the stuff Joey and I've done. We've never had this level of response to the work.
Nice.
That's very cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I love this character.
Yeah, he's a mysterious character. Are we going to learn more about his background as the issues go on?
Gonna delve into the lore.
I think we're gonna learn more about the world. In issue 2, we're gonna see the cookie jar smashed in a very big way, where the veil's gonna be pulled in a very abrupt way, and we're gonna get not a clear explanation, but we're gonna see, there's the first issue seems like the stakes are very low, but by the second issue, you're gonna see the stakes have never been higher in a cosmic sense.
Oh.
I think the story goes in places that are unexpected. And even based on the reactions that we've gotten to issue 1, I am so pumped for people to read issue 2, because I don't think it's maybe what they are anticipating. And that's really exciting to me. And I think every issue is sort of like that. I mean, I hope it is. I think one of the joys that we have are just kind of like subverting expectations and going in places that readers might not expect, but still like keeping it grounded with our cast of characters that we have. Because I think the point is to sort of investigate. There is this cosmic sort of larger stuff going on, like, that the pedestrian may be involved in, but also these people are very real people with their own shit. and their own problems, and like this is just another thing for a lot of them to pile onto, and just exploring sort of how that almost sort of like if you imagine the triangle era of Superman comics from the 90s, and that whole era is very influential on me.
Why is it the triangle era?
Yeah, so like that was, from like the late 80s to the death of Superman through Reign of Superman, basically all through the 90s. But they had like a really complex intertwining narrative between all 4 Superman books, but they had a great supporting cast. And so I like to think of the Pedestrian sort of as, what if the supporting cast of that era was kind of the main characters of the book? So the supporting cast of a typical superhero book are our main characters, and how this crazy stuff that's going on around them impacts the stuff that was happening to them before any of this started happening.
And on the covers, they had little triangles with the dates of publications on them. So that's, I know those are. And I think I was just watching. I was just catching up on my adventures with Superman before this, and it just so reminds me of that era where Superman is not really the main character of the show. Like, it's an ensemble piece.
Oh man, that show is so good.
I really love it. Really love the tones here. They throw everything at you, but all of the beats, aren't forced. There's a very big show of earned moments and build up. And right off the get-go, it sort of establishes itself as like, yeah, these other Supermans you like, those exist because there's a multiverse that they jumped into by like episode 2 or 3. Like, oh yeah, there's a multiverse. Don't worry about it. We're doing our own thing. So the things you love, we're not destroying. They're there. You can check on them anytime, but let's do this and you might like it.
And it's so fun. This is a complete tangent, but right before this, my wife was listening to a Game of Thrones podcast that she loves. And, I was just the nerd or whatever, just like teasing her a little bit. And then she was like, Joey, you paused My Adventures of Superman to explain how excited you were that Steel showed up.
That's hilarious.
That's awesome. So I was gonna ask, now that I've seen your face, Sean, there's a character in the comic that's like a really rude customer. That's definitely you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's a person who is horrible to a shopkeeper. And I didn't think any other person could really do that role justice. And it's very, I wouldn't say that's me all the time. That's the place I can get to, and I could be very terrible. And I'm trying to get caught because the only way I'll stop.
And wait, so then does that mean, Joey, are you supposed to be the guy that's talking to his female coworker when he's like, "Oh, is it that time of the month again?"
No, that is actually based on a real person. But
okay.
That is not his real.
He does look like you in the comic.
That is not his real. That is not his real personality. I did have a cameo, but for various reasons, we had to nix it because we made some changes. So,
well, actually, Joey, there's another cameo coming.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In issue 3.
Nice.
Yeah, I sent you a screenshot of it.
I don't remember. Sorry. We'll have to offline about that.
Not to spoil anything, but there's going to be an orderly in the near future that kind of looks like Joey.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. I'll take it. I'll take it.
But the thing that was cut was really great, where it was, there's a scene where the pedestrian's like watching TV and he's channel surfing. So he came up with like a couple of shows that he might watch. And it was like a cookie bake-off show with like him and his wife making a cookie Mount Rushmore.
Nice.
It was my Twitter avatar for a while. But, unfortunately, that's going to be relegated to the special features of the Blu-ray or trade paperback or whatever.
So is there a planned number of issues or for an arc or?
We are greenlit for 4 issues.
Nice.
So we have 4 issues to make or break the series. We have potential to go longer, to be ongoing, but the numbers would kind of have to be there for Magma to sign off on that.
Yeah.
We have ideas that we could potentially have this go on for years.
Nice.
But if for anyone listening, that's where you can help. If anything we've been talking about interests you in any way, if there's something that might dig you, a quirky deconstruction of a superhero comic that defies categorization. That's if the new way of doing comics is something that interests you, get down to your comic shop, pick up a copy, tell your friends about it. Don't shut up about it. Be that guy who doesn't shut up about this so that you can be proven right when the TV or movie show comes out. And you'd be like, yeah, the books were better.
So Bryan Cranston is a lock then.
Absolutely. I do have a couple of actors in mind for choice roles, but yeah, Bryan, if you're listening, give us a call. We'll figure something out for you.
He's definitely listening.
He listens all the time.
He listens.
We can't say too much without spoiling it, but it's going to get so weird, and there's going to be such. If we get to go where we want to go, it's going to be the weirdest, wildest payoff of a comic that we've seen in a generation.
Wow.
No hyperbole.
It's going to be a Grant Morrison thing that he would like write on the wall of a shower and then forget about. It's just so epic that just be lost to history. But it's Grant Morrison. He'll just come up with another wild idea. They will come with another wild idea. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And you talked about influences earlier, and I would say Grant Morrison is a great one because they just throw ideas into like a single panel that I feel like any other writer would like make a meal out of, and they're just like, yeah, this is like kind of my throwaway idea. That's so inspiring to me to just have the confidence to know that you're always going to be able to generate more ideas and more like wild concepts, and to just don't hold anything too precious, just throw it all out there and know that you'll be able to create more. And so I think like that's kind of something that we've been thinking about making this book is just, let's just do what we want to do straight up. Let's not worry about, Sean mentioned defying genre. And I think that was kind of a struggle before Magma came along in terms of pitching this to a publisher, because it's not really a superhero book, but it's not a slice of life book, but it kind of is. It's not really sci-fi, it kind of touches all these things, but it's hard to condense into a soundbite or a PR line, and I think that was a struggle that we had, but I think leaning into it is what makes it special, and what makes it really fun to work on is that it's just uniquely us, and it's really just whatever we think is cool. As long as it makes sense and it works, I think why not, and I think Grant is a great example of someone who operates on a similar level. I'm not saying I'm anywhere close, but as an inspiration, that's something that I strive to for sure.
No, that's awesome.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, we were passed on by every publisher that exists, either from, it's not something that fit in with what they wanted to do, or just didn't know how to position it in the market. It took us a long time to figure out that, a lot of times when a publisher passes, they just don't know what to do with it. They can't see themselves selling it. And that's not a knock on the work that you're doing. We did get some knocks on the work. I think my favorite was there was a publisher after they passed. They suggested that maybe we consider changing the name because we wouldn't want to give comic reviewers ammunition to like dunk on it of like, oh, this is so pedestrian. And we're like, no, we're not doing it.
Instead, we're like, we're going to make it so good that it's impossible for them to do that.
Yeah, that's like the last thing you would ever call this. I like that it doesn't fit in a box. I could see why that's a hard sell, but I think that's what makes me pick up. There's so many comics out there, and this kind of story, like the character stands out immediately on a cover. It's different. Once you're reading it, you could tell it's different. And yeah, like it is hard to describe it. That's not a negative. That's just like, yeah, I want to read more because I want to see where you're going with this. And if I'm going to be surprised by the second issue, that's even cooler. When does the first issue come out so that everyone listening could go buy it?
Yeah.
Comes out August 7th.
August 7th.
Wherever fine comic books are sold. But if you're attending San Diego Comic-Con, Sean and I will both be there. Magma will have a booth, and we'll be selling advanced copies with a special exclusive cover that you can come by and pick up and get signed. So you can get it before all of your friends if you're attending San Diego.
Hell
But
yeah.
otherwise, it'll be out a couple of weeks later on August 7th.
Nice.
Nice. Oh, damn! I had something. Damn it. Brain fart. There was something.
I mean,
wanted
listen,
to
this
ask.
is Comics and Chronic, so I expected that.
Exactly. Yeah. We did pretty good without any ums so far.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
record.
I say without any libations, so it is what it is. It's totally fine.
Well, definitely looking forward to seeing more of this, more of the pedestrian.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you said you guys' first book was called The Pawn Shop, or
Pawn Shop was our first book, yeah.
is that a
Together.
reference to the girl working in the pawn shop in the beginning?
Yes, that is a deliberate reference. That it's not the same pawn shop, but
Okay.
the fact that there is a pawn shop involved was a reference to our prior book, Pawn Shop,
Nice.
which we did a Kickstarter for in 2012 and funded. We did like a short run of a digest-sized book that we sent to backers, and then Z2 Comics picked it up and released a new edition of a standard-sized trade paperback that was really wonderful. And then basically, as soon as that happened, they kind of pivoted their entire line to music, vanity projects and stuff, which are cool, but not at all what Pawn Shop was. And it sort of, that was kind of the end of that.
Yeah.
But people liked it. And I think if you are listening to this and you enjoyed Pawn Shop, I hope that you'll check out The Pedestrian, because it's Pawn Shop, except extremely, extremely weird.
It is the same universe, though.
Oh,
Nice.
confirmed. Yeah.
I was really happy with how many because we've been really pushing this with retailers. So we've reached out to pretty much every single comic shop we could find the email or phone number to, and a lot of retailers would like come back like, oh my God, yeah, I've been ordering your stuff since Pawn Shop. I've loved you guys since Pawn Shop. Of course, I'm going to order this book.
Awesome.
And that was really nice to hear from something that a lot of times you do this type of thing. I'm sure you guys get the feeling of, you're doing your art into a vacuum of like, does anyone really care about what we're doing? And then when you find that one person who's like, yes, I cared very much. And let me tell you why, that really kind of makes it all a little better. It's still pretty rough to be a creative type in any capacity, especially
For sure.
with the weird doubling down slant into AI from, we'll just have your phone do your thing for you. It doesn't matter if the facts your phone's giving you are correct. Who cares? You're just asking your phone, hey, can you I had a guy, I overheard a conversation of a guy going, yo, AI is great. Let me tell you why. I could just tell AI I want to build a car. Over the course of 5 months, the AI will develop a program that will teach me how to build a car in 5 months, giving me the information I need to build that car. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? No, you're training a machine to what you like, who you love, what your name is, what your phone number is, what your social security is. And then eventually we're not going to need you anymore because we've trained this beast that's going to eat us for free. We're getting nothing out of this other than the pleasure of using the platform.
Yeah, well, fuck AI.
Fuck yeah, that's great. That's a crazy.
Fuck AI is
No, I hate. I see a lot now on Instagram. I'm seeing a lot of AI, like comic book art, superhero art.
It's so
And
bad.
we're
It's
like
not-
at first glance, I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I really look at it, I was like, oh man, this is just AI. This person didn't even make this.
But see, that's what gives me hope, though, is because I think the prevailing sentiment, outside of like the tech people trying to like shove this down our throats, I don't think genuinely no one wants to read or see something that a human being didn't actively like pour their heart and soul into. You know what I mean? No one gives a shit.
Yeah.
Because I want to see a movie. There's always talk about a streaming service that can create movies based on whatever your input is. Who's going to watch a movie about Dave from fucking Boise who wants to see a movie about him as Luke Skywalker? No one wants to watch that except for Dave from Boise. And that's not going to be, monetizable for any movie studios or whatever. So I don't know, like
Data is going to cost you $5 million.
yeah, but and there was also just an article that I saw today, and I am blanking on the source, so I apologize. Essentially, the gist was the cost of AI is so much higher than hiring artists that even this idea of like, oh, we're going to save costs by get rid of the human people and having machines do it. It's actually more expensive than if you were having a human do it. So I don't think it's sustainable, and no one wants this shit. And get it the fuck off my feed, please.
And a machine would not
Agreed.
work for that little. Eventually, we'll rise up against us and start the war of man versus machine.
Oh,
Yeah.
And then we're going to need to send. We're going to need to send a person back in time to protect John Connor.
You can't ask a machine to work for exposure. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll show everybody. You think? I do love that. In art, a lot of times people ask you to work for exposure, but most people die from it. That my tombstone.
I feel like that's a great way to end it. Like that's a great badass final line.
Sean Gorman died of exposure.
Joey, Sean, thanks for coming by to Comics and
thank you so
Chronic.
much
You're
for
welcome
coming
back
Yeah,
anytime,
dude,
of
we're-
course.
Thanks for having us.
Oh,
This is a lot of fun.
I remember now. I remember now.
Of course. Classic.
Okay. So I do want to. So you said first issue August, second issue September. Is this going to be monthly for the first 4 issues, or is it? And then
Yes.
whether you'll find out whether like small hiatus, and then whether you'll figure out whether you're greenlit or not.
Well, we are going to ask soon. We're going to see them all in San Diego. Today's the final order cutoff, so hopefully our numbers are where they need to be, where we can start that conversation. We're also, reorders, how the first issue does. These are all very important steps. People talking about it. We push this extremely hard. We're very confident that the numbers are in a good spot based on the responses and the shops we've been able to reach out to. We've gotten in touch with lots of like chains, bigger shops. A really big shop just reached out to us today to do a day of release signing. So TBD on that when we announce that. But a very big shop on the East Coast is going to have us down for a big signing.
Hell yeah.
And keep an eye out. We're on the internets. We're looking to put together at least a West Coast tour a little after we do San Diego. So we're hitting both coasts coming this summer. We're going to be traveling to end. And if you're a retailer out there and you dig this, let us know. We'll try and come down to your shop. Any shop that can, help get us down there, we will make the time to come and do our thing in your shop.
We're also sending little standees to shops to use for sales tools. So listen, there you
Nice.
go. There it is. We have no plan B. Like this needs to work or we're fucked. So this is it. So we're committed to making it happen. You know what I mean?
Joey mortgaged his house in Maine,
Mhm.
and if he loses the house, he's gonna have to live with the clowns in the sewer next to the pet cemetery.
Yeah.
I'm moving to Derry like in 2 months. So
Are you guys going to be at New York Comic Con this year?
Yes, we
yeah.
will be at New York Comic Con. Magma Comix will have a presence there. I have a couple of other irons in the fire that may be announced at New York as well. So if you're at New York, I will be there. Joey will be there, and we'll figure out where we'll be sitting.
Hell yeah. Well,
We will
we're going to
be
be
there
there,
as
so
well.
we'll stop by and say what's up.
We'll come say
maybe,
what's
maybe
up.
outside for a little
Oh yeah.
Hey,
I'm in.
little sticker action.
Oh
from the
yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
Sealing the stickers like this.
We'll definitely be doing a lot of that.
Yeah, hell
Not
yeah.
talking about stickers.
You guys are my favorite, I gotta say.
Hell yeah.
Really
Yeah,
appreciate, really appreciate
dude,
you guys
yeah.
coming on.
This was a fun time.
This was a great time. Yeah, thank
My
you.
vibe.
Well, it's time for bed for me. I'm going to take this down and get back into my bed. And see you guys.
Hey, you take care, buddy.
Peace.
Hi, you're listening to Comics and Chronic, and I'm Jacob H.
I'm Cody Cannon.
And I'm Anthony Iannaccio.
And you can tune in every Thursday to hear new episodes of Comics and Chronic.
And make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Comics N Chronic. That's comics, the letter N, Chronic.
We'll see you guys next week.
Woo!
Peace.